Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I am from executeautomation.com and welcome to another video of our EA Weekend video series. And today we are going to talk about testing certification. Is it worth it? If so, what should I learn? This is another trending questions in LinkedIn, and a lot of time I have got this question from LinkedIn messages and emails and asking what should I learn for testing certification, and is it really worth it to first complete the testing certification, and if so, what should I learn? But before getting into the actual video, the content created is not targeted to any specific person, company, agency, or their model of business. This is a general topic and I have created based on the experience in industry almost like 14 years now. If not agreed, please reach me out and drop me an email to discuss about this topic if you feel so, or put our comments below in this particular video so that we can really discuss, and even other person on their opinion can put their comment in this video so that we can really talk about it. So the agenda of this particular discussion that we are going to be talking about this video is this: what certification means for testers, recruiters, and employers. Will testing certification help me to get the job done? What are the certifications or skill I should get while practicing testing for both manual and automation testing? And finally, our actual question, which is it really worth it to get the certification? So certification is always kind of getting a buzzword all these days. I have been looking at people feel really proud of getting the certificate of completion for the first time, and they post their certificate on LinkedIn, Facebook, and sometimes they also go crazy and print the certificate and put it on their computer desk at work just to showcase that they have completed it. But you can see that the certificate that you can see in here are the certificate of completion, which means you have just completed the particular course. It doesn't really guarantee you that you have really got or gained the knowledge on that particular course or certification. If you have taken any one of the course, for instance my Udemy course itself, if you have purchased that, or if you have also opted for my free courses, once you complete that course, the course is eventually going to give you a certificate, and that certificate will tell you that this is the certificate that you have completed and this is the course completion certificate. But again guys, the course completion certificate doesn't really guarantee you that you have really completed that by putting the whole concentration on the particular course itself. I'm not telling everybody, but specifically for person who really want to get the job. If you have seen my courses, when I release any course, the course begin with like 3 hours of video, but then later the whole course just jump from all the way from 3 hours to like 12 hours. For instance, my advanced framework development courses in Udemy started with 3 hours of content earlier in 2016, and in 2020 I'm still kind of upgrading my courses, and now it is almost 13 hours of course. So you can see that the course completion certificate that you obtained on 2016 for that course is now not valid. And this is exactly same for the technology as well. If you go into any testing technology or any tool or the pattern, they are going to keep changing and they are going to be keep upgrading, pretty much like my course, how it is getting upgraded. And the certificate of completion is also not going to be valid from the time you obtain that. So that's exactly what is this certificate of completions, and they are not going to really guarantee you that you have really gained any knowledge. So acquiring certificate without putting the whole mind at your work is completely a waste of education. I have not told that, guys. This is something I have taken from the internet. The code was really aligned with what we are discussing today. So what certification means for testers, recruiters, and employers? This is the first question which I think we need to discuss about. The first one, the recruiters. This is the person who we get contacted with for the first time to get our dream job. Most of the time, the recruiter can be either a software, like in India, there are so many job portals. Even in New Zealand, there are many job portals. So we get or upload our profile in that job portals, and they are the first person who are gonna look at our profile. So this party is the most interested party to see the certification in our resume. I'm not saying everybody, but there are specific recruiters who are very specific on these certificate. They always use a parsing software in their portal to scan our resume to see if our profile has few important keywords matching to filter out our resume. And some of the most common keywords they are pretty keen on are like, do I have a Selenium keyword in my resume, even though I have never ever did Selenium automation. maybe I would have heard about it, and if I just put that, then you are actually selected for that particular interview. Similarly, ISTQB, CSAT, CSTE, automation, safe, agile, scrum, etc. So these are some of the keywords these tools actually scans, and they will filter out like hundreds and thousands of resume to a specific profile, something like that. And if you see my profile, I don't have any of these certificates like CSTE, CSAT, or agile or scrum, something like that. I just completed the safe training because that was something the company asked me to complete and they paid me for it, and I got that safe certificate. If not, I would have never ever went to that certification. So you can see how certification has really impacted me in my life. I'm not going to talk anything in personal, but that's what is the actual trend right now. Once our resume pops up, then the recruiters, again I'm saying few of them, not all, check if the job description given by the employer is matching few keywords within our resume. If so, then they filter out based on the top 2 or 3 projects you have worked with the keyword, and finally filter out a resume out for a call. Again, as you can see in here, the certificate here is actually a keyword for this party. No knowledge or experience is really involved in here. It's all just a keyword. So basically for recruiter, this certification means actually a keyword. That's what they're actually using for. Now you got the idea, right? The next party is our employer whom we are going to work with. Well, this party gets the filtered resume from the recruiters, call for the interview, like phone or in person or in Skype call. And in my experience, they don't mostly ask anything about your certification like ISTQB, CSAT, CSTE, SAFE, etc., whatever that you have. They don't even bother or give a crap about the certificate you have or don't have. Sorry about my language in here, but this is the actual reality of how the employer treat your certifications. They'll be very interested to see what you have did in your earlier project or the current project, and would like to hear from you what you can bring to the company based on your earlier experiences. So here, certification is not even a thing. They basically see how you can actually collaborate with the team, how you can bring the new experience that you have gathered in your previous organization, how is your attitude to work with the team and all those stuff, but not the actual certification. They may ask few questions on the certification that you have really completed that certification, but if you don't really have a certificate, they don't even are worried about that. And finally, the last person, the most affected person in here is the tester. For tester, certification is mostly influenced by earlier 2 parties. He is not on his own in the verge of obtaining a certificate. And the reason I keep looking at all these LinkedIn posts with a lot of people putting their certificate of completion on LinkedIn post is because they just want to showcase that they have really completed something from some company, that they have acquired this knowledge. But if you get into some of this detail of the certification, if that particular topic or the course from whom they have purchased, I'm not saying anybody's course, I can even include my course, because my course in the beginning, if you see, they just 3 hours of content may not be sufficient to get the job done. But later, once the course improves like 12 hours, if you really complete the whole 12 hours, you may have little chance to get the job done in your company and may get some experiences. But there are many different courses or many different certificate programs available, which doesn't really talk about the real-time experience that you can really gain from those certifications. And I have also got a few friends in UK, and I often heard from them about the ISTQB certification as the mandatory, like the foundation level. I don't even know like what are the certification level they have got, but I have seen there are many levels. I also heard there is something called as ISTQB for automation kind of stuff. I'm again saying that I'm very poor at this ISTQB department. Sorry if I'm really wrong about that. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You can put your comments below that ISTQB, if it is super important, that you can really get the job done if you complete the ISTQB certification. But coming back to the topic, I've heard from friends from UK that if you don't really have an ISTQB certification, that it's very hard to get the job. So if you have this certification, it's very easy for the recruiters to get the job there. But I have worked in India, Malaysia, and now in New Zealand. I have never heard people really talking about ISTQB, and also it's mandatory to get the job with the ISTQB certification. So here, certification for tester is just a compulsion and not a knowledge. And the next question, will certification help me to get the job done? And again, this question is gonna fall for the tester, that the certification helps you to get the knowledge of know-how of testing and few pointers to guide you for sure, no doubt. I'm not going to tell you that all the certifications that you have in the world are not going to help you to get the job done. For sure, there are some pointers, there are many pointers for you to get the job done, and it is really, really helpful to make a newcomers in QA with a certification to run through some of the processes or industry trends, even though they are kind of obsolete, but still better than nothing, and the pattern to test and other testers' experience in a high level, because there are some use cases and scenarios in those certification which helps you to guide like how you should be testing and how you should not. So those are something very, very good for the certification, like know-how. But again, if you just ask yourself to be honest, while we do certification, how many of us learn certifications to understand the above pointers, the process rather, to get the exam cleared? For instance, if a certification is kind of a compulsion to get the job, or probably if the certification is something which is asked by an organization or the company that you're working for as a compulsion to complete, then probably you will not put your whole effort to complete that certification, to understand the pointers in that certification. Rather, you'll be putting a whole effort to get that certification exam cleared. So to answer the questions of help to get the job done, I would say no personally, since the industry is changing so rapidly and every company team has their own laid out plans and process to test their applications, and it's sure it works well for them, but it may not work for a different company that you're going to be working. So the process or the plans that you read from those certification examinations may be applicable for a few companies, but may not be for every different company. And I have never seen anyone talking about a testing scenario referring to any testing certification examples to compromise me or tell me that this is what is the actual way that you should be testing. There is no way that has laid out a plan anywhere on these certification exams or the course or syllabus where you should not be testing in a different fashion. So these are something which I have never seen. So for the question, will certification help you to get the job done? I don't think so. And then, what are the skills I should possess while practicing testing? So again, I'm saying practicing testing, because testing skill is actually an art and it can be learned while we practice it every day in, day out in our job. And our today's way of testing may be different tomorrow. And similarly, our awesome testing process in current project may be completely less worthy in another project in the same organization. So you can see that the same process, while it is different in the same organization with different projects, for sure, while you work with different companies, with different teams, those are going to be completely different each and every time. So the skills that you need to possess for testing is communication and interpersonal skill. Without effective communication in team, one can never shine, even though he can have hundreds of world's most demanding certificates and you can keep putting them, all of them, in the LinkedIn or in Facebook or Twitter. You can never actually achieve a better testing without having a great communication among the team. This is the key to actually perform an actual testing. Even though you write a manual testing or an automation testing, if you talk to your team like a developers or testers or BA doing a great testing, this is the skill that you need to really actually possess while being a good tester. And then the knowledge to understand the system under test as a whole. And this is another most important thing. A person who is going to test the system should have the knowledge to understand the system under test and its related systems. Without the knowledge of having the system, there is no point in writing hundreds of manual test cases and thousands of light speed automated test cases, because if you don't really have an understanding of the system as a whole, whatever test that you write may not be right and may eventually break while the system modifies or while there is a mission critical change happens within the application. So it's better that you should have a good understanding about the system or any system that you actually test. So these things you can never actually learn from anywhere in any certifications. You need to learn it or cultivate it yourself. And finally, bit on programming and assistive tool skills. We have already talked about this bit on programming and assistive tools in our earlier video, like should have enthusiasm to learn new things and how to get started with automation and how to get started with the testing. We discussed in our last video as well, so you can go ahead and watch there. I'm not going to be again talking about the same thing again in this video. So finally, if you really want to showcase something for your portfolio, if you want to put it in the LinkedIn instead of putting the certificate of completion, then I would say you can show something like this, like have a GitHub link with few cool projects you have worked and put some of the most interesting challenges that you have faced, create a README page on the GitHub link and tell us what you have written in that particular code link, and write some of the articles on the social networks, which is also very, very important, because this article cannot be just for the automation testing. It can be of the manual testing as well. It can be a process, like how you can improve a process of a testing, and how a process that you implemented in an organization or anybody implemented it within an organization has improved the testing effort from X to Z. So those things you can write as an article and you can publish that so that people can read about it and understand how cool it is and how they can implement within those companies. And these are some of the most key important skills that you can really showcase in your portfolio of testing. And finally, you can even put some of the cool places you have visited and what you have learned. Seriously, that shows how alive you are. So these are some of the portfolios that you can bring in for the testing instead of just putting that certification. So finally, the last question of this video is the certification worth it? That's why we're actually in here to really talk about the certification, because that's what this video is all about. So certification, now I don't really have to answer this question anymore, since you know what certification is and how they are misrepresented in the industry by someone to get the benefit out of it, because it's really cool to just showcasing, and if somebody else showcases, it is also induces somebody to also showcase the same thing, and that's what is happening right now in the industry. So to the question, is certification really worth it? It's all up to you right now. Certification that I personally think which is really worth it, or some of the certifications, something like Microsoft's Azure fundamental certifications. You can grab that and you can see how the new systems are going to be implemented, how they are being tested in the industry, how the deployment happens, how the failures are taken place, and how the new era of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all those things are happening on the cloud. Because you cannot really build a machine learning or artificial intelligence or artificial vision APIs and all those stuff within your local machine, because you need a service which can provide that for you. And these certifications, like fundamental certifications, give you an overall idea of how the industry is actually evolving. These certifications, again, if you put your whole effort in learning for gaining some of the knowledge, these certifications are still very, very worthy. Again, not to grab the certification, but to actually understand how the fundamental actually works. And similarly, some of the certifications like AWS certifications or the programming certificate, like Oracle Certified Associate. This is also one of the most interesting certifications for the programming that you can get, so that you can learn some of the new things on the programming and how you can implement that for, not specifically for the automation testing, even for the manual testers. Because nowadays I can see that many companies have the position called SDET, which is nothing but Software Developer Engineering in Test. So they are nowhere calling any tester as a manual tester or automation tester. They will need every tester to be an SDET, making them to write the program as a part of their testing. So you can see that the trend is evolving right now to do the automation testing as a part of their testing. So there is, I don't think in future they're going to call something as automated testing. They're going to call every testers as testing the application, can be of any form. So automation testing is going to be an intrinsic part of it. That's it, guys. This is what I think about the certification. And again, if you think about the question, is testing certification worth it? Whatever we discussed about it right now, is it really worth it? You can put your comments below in this particular video. And if you really have any questions or discrepancies, drop me an email to karthik@techgeek.co.in. I'm always happy to answer the questions. And if you really want to watch any other videos on automation testing like Selenium, C# or Java or JavaScript and new technologies on testing, you can watch my videos on YouTube, Udemy, and of course, a lot of LinkedIn posts and in our Execute Automation website as well. So once again, thank you very much for watching this video, and you have a great weekend.